dip into the heart of Australian agriculture with Salt of the Earth Farm Stories, hosted by Darren Grigg.
I went into a pub and a woman came up and said, "Are you Libby Price?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she slapped me across the back in a friendly way, so excited.
Welcome back. This is part B of our conversation with Libby Price, and we're picking things up right after one of the toughest parts of her career, reporting on Black Saturday. Libby shares more about the highs and lows of life behind the microphone, the tough interviews, the on-air mishaps, and some classic moments along the way. We talk farming and her move to the country, what she calls horse heaven, and why radio kept calling her back, even after a stint in newspaper. There's wisdom here too. Her tips for good rural journalism, her strong views on politics, and her support for women in ag. And a deeply personal moment. Libby reflects on losing her mother at just 20. It's honest, insightful, and like part A, guaranteed to educate, inform, and entertain. Let's get back into it. And I'll start by asking, how do you cover tragedy and still stay human?
Put yourself in the other person's shoes. I don't have to do it very often. People, it's quite funny, it's almost like you give them a truth serum when something tragic's happen in their lives. If they agree to talk, it all comes out. And you just have to sit and listen. Oh, the Port Arthur ones, they were the worst. That was just...
Did you choose not to go over?
Yes, yeah.
Why?
I had small children.
Yeah.
And Sarah Henderson, who's now a senator, she was so ambitious and she wanted to go. So I said, "Oh, it's all yours, baby. I'm not going."
Do you remember where you were when the Port Arthur story broke?
Yes, I was having lunch with the head of 774, who used to work for me, Ian Mannix, and yeah, he started getting text messages. And so the lunch was over very quickly and we all went straight into work.
Horrible. I remember I was in an OB truck doing live football and I was sitting next to Tony Jones and I was the main contact to the TV station. And they said, Studio to OB, stand by for an update. There's a possible 25 people shot in Port Arthur. And I had to get them to repeat it a few times before I told then Eddie Maguire was calling it to say quickly, announce this, here's Joe Hall. I could not believe it. I'll never forget that day.
No, it was shocking. And it was the same with Black Saturday in that the death toll just kept going up and up and up and up. Unbelievable.
Do those moments change you?
Change you? Oh, hell yeah. 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 I was very proud of what we did, but I really don't want to have to do it again. Thank you very much.
Is there one story that still haunts you?
It was the interview that I logged from Port Arthur about, I can't think of his name now, the guy that lost the 2 children. The gunman was chasing them around a tree. And Martin Bryan actually went onto a bus of old people and just started shooting them. And one man just cradled his elderly wife in his arms. Oh, probably the worst one was a woman had her daughter there and she didn't have custody of the daughter, the husband did. And she didn't tell her ex-husband that they were going to Port Arthur. And when he came into the cafe, the mother said, "Hide in a cupboard." And when he left, her daughter's hat was just on the ground. And he'd opened the cupboard door and shot her.
Oh.
There you go.
That would stay with you.
Yeah. Interestingly, I don't have nightmares about them. Thank heavens.
Well, there's been a few stories over the years.
Yeah, I have nightmares about horses. Horses and husbands.
Do listeners ever surprise you with their support?
Yes, equally when they don't, well, they're not supportive. I had one, I won't say where it was, but it was an outside broadcast, and we went to the pub afterwards for a few drinks. And it took a while for the Bush Telegraph to get around, but I was having a friendly chat with a farmer, and his wife complained to the ABC that I was flirting with her husband. It's like, what? Yes, look, it is wonderful. But it was the same working in radio, in current affairs. You'd get people who would congratulate you for what you'd done, because that was tough in those days. The producers are used to, they'd just swear at you down the phone line, because they were all based in Sydney, and they wouldn't tell you why they didn't run a story. They just didn't run it. And I can remember on Anzac Day, they didn't like what I did and being sent out to do it again. And I started crying. You know, I was in my 30s, but still, you know, it was really tough going.
Rejection.
Yeah, and now with the reporters work hard, but you can't treat people like that anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I could.
Is there a best ever broadcast memory? Someone you've worked with or someone you've interviewed?
I can tell you the worst ever was when I was doing Radio National Drive, and we had Archbishop Desmond Tutu on, and I was beside myself with nerves. And they came on and he said, "Good eye." I said, I'm sorry. He said it again, and the producers yelling in my ear, "He's trying to say g'day." And we never really recovered from that. It was like, oh no, that was very embarrassing. Oh look, I covered the Linton fires and had no sleep, and came back and they said, "Can you present Stateline?" Because I did a bit of news reading and presenting Stateline. And I can remember doing a panel interview. I can't for the life of me remember what the topic was, but I timed it to the last second, and they were amazed, because the usual producers, they'd have to edit it. And I can remember afterwards thinking, I've got no idea what I said, and I look back on it and I did a bloody good job. So
well done.
Yeah. Oh, the funniest thing was flying around Western Australia with my father on a plane when I was presenting the Country Hour. We did, if we knew what we knew now, we wouldn't have done it, in a Cessna 210 with me as the navigator and Dennis as the pilot.
Was he? Oh, right.
Yeah, he learned how to fly at 53. And we landed in Kununurra, and I went into the pub, and a woman came up and said, "Are you Libby Price?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she slapped me across the back in a friendly way, so excited. And my father used to be president of the Printing Association of Australia and was a world champion yachtsman, which I've already mentioned. And he said, "Well, there you go. Daughter's more famous than me." So that was nice. That was great, you know. And I went back to the Kimberley last year, horse riding, and oh God, that's the last frontier. That is amazing. I just adore it up there.
Do you?
Apart from it being a bit humid.
Yeah. Apart from the Archbishop, do you remember your hardest interview you've ever done?
Hardest interview? Not hardest. The most astonishing one was with, well, that's not true. It's not astonishing. It's just my recollection of it. It was working for AM, and it was the receiver for the State Bank. No, Pyramid Bank. You probably not. You do remember?
I didn't have money in there, thank God. But
it was a big thing in Geelong in particular. And it was about 11 o'clock at night, because you'd worked the night before for AM. And I eventually got onto this bloke. So I wasn't terribly thrilled that I'd tracked him down. And we did an interview. And at the end of it, he said, "Can I ask a personal question?" I said, "Yes, of course." He said, "Are you married?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Your poor husband," and hung up on me. What would be difficult?
That's a bit rough.
I thought I'd done a damn fine job. Surprising things like Nobby Clark, who's head of National Australia Bank, I asked him what he earned, and he said it's in the annual report. I said, "Yes, but how much is it?" And he told me. And I said, "Thank you very much for speaking to AM." And I shot the 12-kilogram Nagra reel-to-reel Swiss tape recorders we used to cart around. I said, "You didn't have to answer." He said, "Well, you did ask." Yeah, and we'd cut it with a razor blade and white tape. I used to love doing that, and there'd be bits of tape going everywhere, all over the floor, and yeah, it was great fun. Very tactile.
Wow, I just saw at the end of that actually, but like, how easy is it now? We can copy and paste and cut.
Yes,
off out of
we're
the
on a
computer.
system that you don't pay for, so it's not as good as the ABC one. You can't leave a line and go back to it. You've got to anyway. But yes, yeah, that's good fun. Yeah.
What makes a really good rural story?
Oh my gosh. I think telling people what they need to know. It was different at the ABC, and it's become even more so. They do a lot more of colour stories now, and a lot less of the Roger, stop it. Yeah, just pat him. A lot less of the hard political stuff. I think that would be one of the disappointments of the ABC now. Some of them are pretty good, some of the rural reporters, but a lot of them are the softer colour stuff. So I think it's, for instance, over this whole war with Iran, a lot of farmers might think our coverage on ACE radio has been relentless about it, but it's make or break for them. On the program today, dairy farmers saying that if they don't get a price increase before the deadline of June, they're going to stop milking cows because they're not getting paid enough.
I heard you talk about that.
Yeah, veggie growers not harvesting or sowing crops because they're just not going to get enough money because the costs are so high. So these are really important things that people need to know. And I take that very seriously.
And you've got to keep it real, don't you? Especially for rural audiences.
Yes, absolutely. I'm interviewing a Commonwealth Bank economist in about an hour, and it has to be with that rural specific focus, and he knows that.
That'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, well, it's really what's happened at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. I had no idea. They have specialists who have worked in the army and in diplomacy who now work in understanding, oil supplies and shipping and all that kind of stuff. So that's been fascinating to learn a lot of that.
Is radio more intimate than TV?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't watch TV news anymore. I have to watch Al Jazeera every now and then because my daughter works for Al Jazeera. She was in Doha.
Whereabouts?
Yeah, she was in Doha, but she came up to visit me, or us, her family in February, and the war broke. And there was Isabella and 2 New Zealanders on holidays that couldn't make it back to Qatar. So they've all been sent to Washington. So she's living the dream. She's in TV production. They do live broadcasts from Washington.
Behind the camera or in front?
Behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite glad she didn't want to be a war correspondent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's behind as a producer calling all the shots, and she's very good at it. She's a force to be reckoned with, and I'm incredibly proud of her. So I do have to watch that every now and then to keep up with what she's doing. But, I don't watch the news anymore. I'll watch SBS travel and cooking shows suit me better.
Yeah. So around 12 years ago, a move out of the city to the country.
Yep. I was a single mother. My second long-term relationship had broken up. I was renting in Melbourne with 2 university students, my children, living with me. And I just was going out backwards. And then when they turned 18, I no longer got any support from my ex-husband. And it was actually Judy Kennedy, who's a familiar voice on the ABC. She said to me, for heaven's sake, stop thinking a knight in shining armour is going to come and solve all your problems. Buy yourself a house. I said, what, in Melbourne? She said, no, go to regional Victoria. So I applied for a job, first of all, in Bendigo and didn't get it. And then I got the job as editor of the Benalla Ensign here. So I moved here. And I wouldn't say I haven't looked back. It's an ageing population here. I know I'm ageing, but I mean really ageing. So there aren't that many people. But I've made some wonderful friends now, all through horses, actually. And tonight's date night, the girls come over. Only one of us is still married. And we're going to have pizza and talk horses all night. So
Thursday nights?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, look, I love it. I love my garden. This house that we're sitting in now, when I bought it, the bank described it as uninhabitable. So a lot of work's been done on this. The garden was nothing. So, yeah.
Golly, you've got it looking fantastic now.
Thank you. I'm an avid gardener. Horses and gardening and dogs.
So we're in Benalla.
Yep.
But you've also got horses on agistment close
Yes,
by?
out on a farm at Bataguinea, so just out of town.
Yeah, and equestrian horses.
Yep. I've only got one at the moment. I just sold one. So it's a little paint horse. I've started doing a thing called working equitation, which is relatively new to Australia. You'll have to Google it, but it's based on the Spanish and Portuguese farmers with cattle. So they have a long spear called a garrocha, because the Spanish cattle are really aggressive. You don't push behind Spanish cattle, you go in front and they want to attack you, so to speak. So you have this long garrocha to keep them back. So you do a lot of stuff with the garrocha and other things in working equitation. And then in working equitation, the final one is actually working cattle, but it's done more like team penning, but quietly. It's not done the Spanish way. And that's great. So my little is actually registered paint, but it's a little quarter horse. It's only 3. So I've been doing that. I was doing it on thoroughbred, but yeah, that was a bit hard.
You're around horses every day for a few hours, I guess?
Yep.
And then
Once I
weekends
finish work.
the float on and...
Tomorrow you would have seen the back of my utes already. Got a lot of stuff in the back of it. I'm heading out to a cleaning out at Lurg, just out of Benalla. We'll be sleeping in the horse float in my swag.
Do you still jump in the swag?
Yep, I've got a new one.
Good on you.
It's very fancy. The dog doesn't fit. I don't know what he's going to do.
So going back to Benalla newspaper, a different pace, perhaps?
Yeah, I really loved it. Funny enough, I particularly enjoyed the photography. I loved that. It was actually more stressful because there's the big... Wednesday's the day... Tuesday the papers are printed and they come out Wednesday. Wednesday's kind of you relax. Monday is just flat out putting the paper together. There's a huge amount of work, and because it's printed in Shepparton, it's all done in Shepparton. So you're doing it over the phone with a lot of it. So you do the layout of the paper and hope they'll make a good job of it. You don't do the headlines, and I took it way too seriously. I was so serious about it and made myself very unpopular with the council. I think they've kind of got over it. But it was good, but I really missed radio, and I got headhunted for the job I'm in now, so that was lovely.
So back to radio. This is Ace Radio.
Yes.
And what are you doing now?
Presenting Country Today, which is very similar to the Country, only it has ads, usually agricultural ads, and it's broadcast around the state of Victoria and into the Riverina, but not into the major centres, not into the Geelong, Ballarats or Bendigos, but I can name them all if you want. Want me to name
Hit it up,
stations? Wangaratta, Albury, Echuca, Deniliquin, Swan Hill, Horsham, Hamilton, Warrnambool, Colac and Traralgon.
There we go. At what time of the day?
The morning program in some stations is 5:30, but most of them at 6:30. So it's similar to the Rural Report on the ABC, and only it's all pretty much all done by me. And then after midday on the AM stations.
And you'll record this from home?
Yes, I have a studio in my office. They built a little studio.
Do you miss the buzz of a newsroom?
Yes, I do. It was wonderful. Just the intellectual rigour of people at the ABC and people from all areas. You know, Radio Australia, all the people from PNG and East Timor, you'd be at the canteen talking to them. So, yeah, sure I do. But now that I'm a lot older, life slows down to a degree. So yeah, I'm pretty happy here. I certainly wouldn't go back to live in Melbourne, even though my granddaughter's there, my son and granddaughter. And I thought I'd never say this, but gee, it's grown a lot. It's a lot more difficult to get around, especially in a big ute with a horse float sometimes. I helped move and had my son move the other day and had my horse float parked in Thornbury and thought, I don't think anyone's going to pinch my horse float here. I think I'm pretty safe.
They wouldn't have a vehicle to hook it onto. But you do the lot now, don't you? You do the research, you do the interviews, you do the reporting.
Oh, it's always pretty much been like that, even at the ABC.
Yeah, the editing. And there's more technology you've got to grasp now too.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah. I'd say the editing with the razor blade was a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
You did get very good at doing an interview about the length that was going to go to air. And that's what I find frustrating. A lot of reporters will do 10-minute interviews and they'll spend another hour editing it down to 3. Just do it 3 minutes, Al.
That's right.
Get it right in the first place. I mean, you would have known from working in television, you get very good, particularly when we were shooting film, that you had to be very sparse in what you did because it was just too expensive to. We used to have to run down the street at the ABC in Ripponlea and get it developed.
I stress at the start of an interview, short answers, that's all we want, short answers. And then they'll give me a long one. And they'll say, look, can you sum that up for me? Bang. There's the one we'll use. Yeah. 8 years in, Libby, with Ace Radio, still loving it?
Yes, yeah. They're very good. I was a little nervous going to the dark side, but I run my own show. They seem to be pretty happy with it. In the last 18 months, they've employed a new reporter to work with me, Jade Egan, and she knew nothing about farming. She knows a fair bit now, and she's doing a great job. And yeah, they're most appreciative. It's a really very much a sort of like a big family in Ace Radio. It's great.
Any plans for retirement, Libby?
No, not at this stage. I still have a mortgage.
And you're still young.
I'm not. I'm 66. That's not young.
Yeah.
Oh, my ex-husband just retired at 60, the schmuck. Not that I'm jealous or anything. I don't know. Quite often I think, oh, wouldn't it be nice? And then I think, well, what would I do?
Yeah. I know how
so
you
it
spend half
keeps
your
you
day.
intellectually active and involved and interested. So, no, I suppose I probably will retire at 70. I've got to be able to keep riding horses while I can. I always get very inspired when I see 85-year-old women still riding. I think, oh, yay.
Yeah.
But no, I can't see myself retiring anytime
Use it or
soon.
lose it.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on journalism today?
Oh, if they had any idea of how difficult it used to be, without contacts, you were nothing. Now you just got to Google. And I keep saying to the reporters, if you Google someone's name in 04, you might even get their mobile number. They like to be hand-fed. I find that irritating because it was sink or swim when I was learning. It was very tough. But it's wonderful how, and I'm enjoying AI. Like if you Google something, you can get pretty good information fairly quickly that can at least set you on the right path. But the media cycle is so much quicker. When you look at the conflict in Iran and how quickly it's gone to hell in a handbasket, and we know about it as it's happening. And I can remember the first Gulf War, I was at home pregnant with my first child, watching that on television, astonished. It's happening in minutes now, not hours. So, yeah, and I think the quality of a lot of journalism has dropped in some areas. I think there are a lot of young, ambitious people. Also, to be honest, the quality of the voices, they're not enunciating properly. I sound terribly old school, but, I was lucky to be born and educated to speak as I do. I didn't have to be trained, so I guess I had a head start. But, yeah, I often shout at the radio, I say, oh, please speak properly.
Yeah.
So that's very old-fashioned of me.
Have we lost empathy in interviews?
I suppose. I go back to the Andrew Denton one. And even Jana Vent. I had a great deal of admiration for her. Did you ever meet her? She was tiny, weeny.
We did a lot of live crosses with her.
Yeah, she's...
But then she worked with you then with ABC, didn't she?
Oh, not with me, but I did meet her. I mean, she was pretty calm.
She was always the same.
Yes. Paul Lynham was wonderful. Oh, it's terrible when he died. Lee Sales, what an extraordinary woman she is. Absolutely. I've got so much time for her, and you see her on the Assembly on the ABC.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah. Programs like that are fabulous.
Yeah. Are stories more disposable now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What advice would you give to young rural journalists today?
Keep it simple. And I always, when I do an interview, write an introduction and questions. I can throw that out, and I keep saying it to reporters. You have a better focus in your mind. Like, you've done your research. You know roughly where you want to go with an interview. So have it all planned. Don't wing it. You have to wing it every now and then, but don't wing it.
Yeah, and it's something
and have it and think of the answers you want to get. A lot of reporters will think, oh, that's a smart question. Well, you probably won't get a very good answer. That's not the point. As I said earlier, it's not about you, it's about
That's
them.
right. The question's not important to
You're
our
the
listener or
conduit.
viewer. Yeah,
You're
that's
not.
the answer.
That was the awful thing about television too. It's so much involved on personality and looks and all that palaver.
Libby, women in agriculture, you've been a supporter here. What have you seen change over the years with women in ag?
Oh, a lot more women going into leading roles, particularly in agronomy, and also women who are passionate about it and taking a lead rather than following. So that's great to see. Still nowhere near what it should be. So that's great to see, and a lot stronger voice. It was wonderful when we've had women in leadership roles. It'd be great to see more of that. But gee, who'd want to do it?
I know there's some very clever female agronomists out there doing great things.
The Riverina group are incredible.
Yeah.
Most of the staff's women.
Yeah.
Great.
Did you ever think about a move into politics?
No, but one chap, and thankfully I've forgotten his name, came into my office at the Ensign, all the way from Wangaratta, unannounced too. So he just walked in and introduced himself as being involved with the National Party in Wangaratta, and he wondered if I'd consider running as a candidate. And I said, "I'll give me 24 hours to think about it." And it was really quite, I was quite chuffed, really.
I think you'd be good.
Oh, and then I thought, no.
But it's not too late.
No, thank you very much. I mean, when you watch Question Time in Parliament, it's an absolute disgrace. And the lack of respect they have for each other. You know, decades ago, Labor and Liberal people could be friends. Now they're just throwing crap at each other. It's awful. And I think what Barnaby Joyce has done is a disgrace. Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Judy Brewer about this, as you're no doubt aware, that Tim always said One Nation wasn't a party for rural people. And yeah, I can't, don't start me on Trump. So no, I would never go into politics.
Yeah. You recently had a trip to Germany.
Agritechnica.
Right. How was that?
Mind-blowing. Very stressful. So it's the largest agricultural machinery trade fair in the world, and it's on every year in Hanover in Germany. And they flew a lot of Australian farmers out. It's run by the equivalent of the German Farmers Federation. And they've obviously got lots of money. And James Wagstaff from the Weekly Times we went out there. David Jahinke was there. But it was very late in organising it. So we only had accommodation for 2 nights. So we're only there for 2 days. It was over about 20 acres or something, I can't remember. But there were buses, shuttle buses going around taking it from one pavilion to the other. It was in October, so it was quite cold. Not that I minded. And I kept standing on the wrong side of the road to get the shuttle bus, forgetting, oh, damn. And so I did like 20,000 steps in a day. But it was just so difficult because everyone was too busy to help. So you just had to wade through all the information yourself. The media person was one media person. You know, she was far more interested in speaking to German exhibitors than she was a reporter from Australia. So that was really difficult. And then to find people who spoke English. And then because they were such echoey big pavilions, we'd have to go and stand outside to do interviews, and it was very cold. So, look, I have to say it was an experience, but...
Did the technology surprise you?
No, it didn't. There weren't many examples of autonomous tractors. The emphasis was a lot more on all the bells and whistles in the cab. And I suppose there was, it didn't... I was a bit disappointed. I thought there'd be more.
But there'd be AI driving tractors and sprayers and so forth?
Yes, but that's been around for a while. There's the green sprayers and the brown sprayers, so they can, with weed spraying now, if it's green, they'll spray it, if it's not meant to be there. So they're increasing that technology, and they're already using autonomous tractors a lot in horticulture. I think it's a little while off from being really big in broadacre cropping. I think, when you see the big guys with several headers out there all in a row, I don't think that'll be going autonomous for a while yet.
Libby, we're up to the off-the-wall questions.
Uh-oh.
These are a little bit fun, a little bit quirky. The Country Hour theme music, does this still give you goosebumps?
I never liked it. No, and they sort of modified it, and it sort of sounded pretty tinny. I didn't like that. So no, I don't listen to the country, to be honest. Every now and then I'll catch up with what they're doing, but I'm on air at the same time, so no.
If you could redo one interview, which one would it be?
Oh, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Without a doubt. Roger, back off.
And teach him how to say g'day?
Yes.
Well, if Libby Price wasn't a journo, what would she be?
A writer. I've got
Books.
a book in my head, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, but I'm not going to write it. Oh, I started writing a book on dating. It was very funny. And my daughter read it and thought it was fantastic. But I thought, no, I don't really need to reveal all my dating mishaps.
I think that one could be good. If you could sit down with 3 people for a cuppa or a cold drink, who would you choose? And they can be dead or alive.
Okay. This is a bit sad. I'd like to sit down with my late mother. She died in her 40s. She was bipolar, and in the 60s they used to give them lobotomies. She had 2. So I never really knew my mother. My older siblings did.
You were like 20 or a late teenager?
20, yeah.
Were you? Yeah.
Yeah, when she died. And my sister found her, she'd been dead for some time, and yeah, it was just awful. I had a pretty fraught childhood with all of that. And I'd like to sit down with her and get to know her, because I really did never know her.
Wow. Another 2 people you could sit down and have a cuppa with.
I would love to sit down with Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart, who do the Rest is Politics podcast. You have to subscribe. I'm furious about that. They're fantastic. I don't know if you've ever listened to them. They're amazing. Alistair Campbell worked for Tony Blair as the head of media, and Rory Stewart was a Conservative politician in the UK and actually stood against Boris Johnson and lost the leadership. And they've both got great minds. They're great readers. Alistair Campbell speaks German. Rory's married to a woman, I think, from Afghanistan, and that they are right on top of things that are happening around the world, and they're great. They're fabulous. So, yes.
We'll throw you in the mix. It'll be an interesting conversation.
I couldn't keep up with them. They're amazing.
Your favourite tool?
My favourite tool? What do you mean?
Could be a microphone. It could be something to do with the horses. It could be...
My new battery-operated lawnmower.
Oh, have you got one?
Yes. It's fabulous.
No fuel.
No fuel, and
maintenance.
best of all, I don't have to do that. Run. Getting a bit old at 66 doing that, and it's beautiful. It just goes... It's fabulous.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I wouldn't mind going back to Harndorf.
Would you live there?
Yes, except my life's moved on. I think here will do.
I think you've got a good spot.
Yeah.
You've got the horses close by.
Yeah.
Libby, this has been an absolute privilege for me to sit down and have this chat with you.
I'm exhausted.
Sit here all day and yarn to you. It's been
I do
fascinating.
apologise for Roger's misbehaviour, and that bark you would have heard is the deaf dog wanting to be let out. So.
Oh, Audrey.
Yeah, here she comes.
All right. But thank you very much, Libby, and you've been very generous with your time today.
My pleasure. Great to meet you.
That's part B, and the end of our conversation with Libby Price. What a story. From the highs of an extraordinary career in radio to the challenges of reporting on tragedy and everything in between. There's no doubt Libby has already left a lasting mark on rural journalism. Her honesty, resilience and passion for telling real stories really shines through. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it around, leave a review and help us keep telling these stories from across rural Australia. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.